There's a moment, often around midnight, when the world feels like it's on pause, and in that silence, a voice creeps in. You sold me to get there. And it could be a horrible moment if you realize it's not wrong. It's a common saying that when you're young, you should work to death to acquire enough resources for the future, the time when you're old and do not have the energy to work. People usually describe it with fancy quotes like pay now and play later, or sacrifice today for a better tomorrow. At first glance, it seems reasonable and even noble from society's point of view, but it's a trap. A psychological trap called delayed gratification paradox. Escape living and trade yourself with a dream. Dream of a promised day when you eventually feel contented. But when you achieve your goals, the joy isn't as fulfilling as expected, because your brain has become wired to keep chasing the next big challenge. You keep running and running only to find that there is nothing at the finish line. Tolstoy tells us a story about a man called Ivan Ilyich. He worked like a beaver, climbed the ladder, and spent his whole life doing and achieving what was expected. Everything in his life seemed perfect, until he suddenly got sick and realized he was dying. That's where he started asking himself, what was the point of all that? The status, the approval, the perfect image. None of them made him feel fulfilled or even happy. At that point, all of them became meaningless. The problem is that you think if you complete your studies, fall in love, get that job, buy that thing, you'll finally be happy. You won't. In cognitive sciences, we call it hedonic adaptation. It means people eventually get used to new situations, whether they're bad or pleasant. If it's bad and you can do nothing about it, like losing a loved one forever, the tension and sorrow will gradually fade over time with a growing sense of acceptance. Because the constant presence of these kinds of feelings is practically against survival. That's how we evolved. We cannot live under threats forever. The bad news? Our evolutionary path is a double-edged sword. We're also wired to constantly explore new things. That's exactly why when you finally reach your lifelong goals, you won't feel that first rush of excitement for long. You might think that I'm suggesting you forget about all those big dreams. I'm not. The problem isn't really your goals, it's actually your mental model. You see, most people see life through a dualistic perspective, as if you should either live in the moment and enjoy it, or put yourself through constant struggle for the sake of the future. The truth is, you don't have to choose. You can pursue both present pleasures and long-term ambitions. But how? That's the question. The binary perspective that I mentioned earlier makes you anxious all the time. If you give yourself some time to relax, by the end of the day, you'll end up hating yourself because you believe you should be working all the time. And on the other hand, if you dedicate your whole day to work, you won't feel truly satisfied most of the time. This flawed mental model acts like a giant vacuum and always demanding more and more of you. Biologically, our brains prefer to oversimplify complicated issues to two opposing options, even when balanced alternatives exist. Many people believe that it is crucial to postpone gratification to gain success. However, research suggests that fulfillment comes from consistent effort rewarded by small wins along the way. In addition to diligence, you should be nicer to yourself. And don't feel guilty when you give yourself some rewards for your dedication. Also break down those huge abstract targets into small parts. For instance, if you want to be a writer, instead of saying, I want to be a great and successful writer, commit to writing more pages than last month. When you dedicate yourself to your goals with this mental model, you experience the sense of winning once in a while. Then you can celebrate it. You deserve it. It's a common cognitive error to think, if I don't struggle now, I'll never succeed. And first of all, never rely on other people's notions of success. There's a variety of perspectives. Some consider it wealth, some think it's love, and for others it could be entirely different. You should find your own meaning, if you need one, because some people can live without meaning and they don't need it. And it's a pretty good lifestyle if you can handle it, but back to the point, you should find your own meaning or purpose of life, or at least the lifestyle that suits you. Because you're probably the only one who's gonna experience hardships along the way, not the people who told you what to pursue. If you truly find your own purpose in life, and of course be a little responsible, you'll enjoy the process and put up with its difficulties. Remember, often the process is more important than the outcome. Why? Because it takes up a much larger part of your life. A writer I don't like once wrote, once you hear the details of a victory, it is hard to distinguish it from a defeat. It's not easy to face the person you've sacrificed for years to gain what you mistakenly deemed necessary for fulfillment.